Look who we got in the corn. Who is that? Come here. That's Callie, huh? Well, good afternoon. Welcome back to my video. This is I'm Grace, Growing with Grace from the Garden to the Jars. And this video is going to be about harvesting my green beans and canning them. But as you see over here, we have some guests who are going to watch. Okay. All right, but before we get started, I'm kind of excited about this. I talked about growing asparagus beans. I've never done it before. This whole line is asparagus bean. So what I'm excited about, I noticed that right here is the bean. It starts forming two beans on each stem. And they're supposed to get about 6 inches long. Let me see if I can find any more down here. All right, come on. Yeah, I see them now. Now here we go. Oh, look here. This one has 3. They say that when they get to be about the size of a pencil, then you can harvest them. These beans are supposed to taste like asparagus, but has like a nutty flavor to them. So I wanted to show you this. I was excited about this. All right, let's go back over to the beans and get started picking on the beans. Okay, I have all these beans that I'm going to harvest tonight. Usually I get 3 pickings off the beans. We'll see how many we get tonight for the first time. All right, a good length for your beans, usually one about the size of a pencil, is a good length for the beans. Not the length, I mean for the thickness of your beans. And looks like I got quite a bit of beans here to harvest. Look, right here's a bunch. Look at this. I'm gonna have a good night here. All right, those look just about perfect length. These are pretty long. They did pretty good. All right, I'll get back with you when I get these beans picked. We'll see you in the kitchen. All right, now that we're back at the kitchen, ended up getting 7 gallons of beans, and that's for our first picking. Usually the second picking you get more, and then you get a third picking, you don't get as much, and then the last bunch, anything that's on the vines, I leave it till the vines dry, and then I'll use it for beans for next year for seeds. I do it a quick way. I don't snap them. I take a big handful of them here. I try to go with a lot of the straight ones. All right. And I will line them up here. My hand in the way? Can you see pretty good? Okay. Okay. So instead of snapping them, and then I can get them all the size I want, I line them straight up like that. Chop them off. I cut, move it aside. And if you got arthritis in your hands, this really helps. And then I cut again. So I have all these nice, just about, there we go, put them in there. Let me show you one more time. Hey Toby, can you find me a bunch of ones that are curled around? Now this doesn't work too good as the ones that are curled. Give me about 5 of them, if you can find 5 in there. I'm sure there's 5. Okay. And it doesn't matter how many you take, how many. I got small hands, so. And again, line them all up. And I said that way you can cut them the size that you want, all even to fit into the jars. Chop the ends off. Side. Flip them around. Oops, and get rid of these little ones. Okay, that's the straight ones. Now when you got the ones that are curved, it's kind of hard to do the curvy ones like that. Here's a couple here. Okay, with the curvy ones, oh, that's a bad one. We don't want that one. Okay, I get the curves, see how they loop like that? I get them all lined up. Hold on to them. Oh, that's a straight one. We don't need the straight one. Get them lined up here. All the curves, see how they're all gone? Then usually I cut it at a little bit of an angle that way, and then I come back and cut it this way. So they fit in the jars better, and then flip them over. Turn the curves all the same way again. There we go. Now these here, you see, are a little bit bigger. Just chop them, like I said, ever how you want them, the size you want your beans. All right, that's how I do my beans. Okay, and I have my helper here. Here's Toby. He's learning, and he's helping me with the beans. Right, I'll get back with you when I get them all done and ready for the next stage. Now that we're done cutting the beans, now we're going to prepare the jars. In your canner, you put 2 inches of water in the canner. When I do my jars, when I put them away and store them, I always put them through a dishwasher and then I turn them upside down. But when I get them out, I will fill the jars up to here. And of course I got the water in the canner, and then I'll put the lid on it, and then I'll bring it to a boil, and then I'll simmer it for about 15 minutes to sterilize my jars. You can go to episode 7 of my video, and it will go into more detail on how to prepare your jars and check and to sterilize your jars in episode 7. After we cut the beans up and sort through them all, I rinse them 2 times, and after I rinse them, I put them in a bath water with ice for about an hour. That way they can rehydrate themselves. Now that we got the beans all washed, this was 7, I had like a 5-gallon bucket, and I had one totally full and then made partially, so I have about approximately 7 gallons of beans. Whoops, all right. Now we got our jars, they're sterile. Now I dumped the sterile water into this clean pan. The water is already hot, it's already sterile, so when I put the beans in the jars, then I will reuse this water that's already hot and sterile back into the beans. Again, in episode 7, and I still put hot water in my lids. I know you don't have to, but I do. All right, in episode 7, I do talk about how you sterilize your jars and check them for cracks and everything. All righty. Oh, good and hot jars. All right, when I pack mine in, there we go. Oh, kind of missed the whole jar, huh? All right. I'm just going to do 3 jars here. You don't need to see me do all the jars. Okay, once I get them packed about halfway, I tap them down, shake them, so they all settle down, tap them down. Okay. And fill them up with some more. Now you got to leave about an inch headspace between the lid and the beans. I probably end up getting about 20 pints of beans out of this many. All right, and then I tap it down again, and yes, the jar is hot. I mean, there's still, you can still see where they're still loose inside. Then I just fill it up here. Now this will serve 3 people. Whoops. Now I don't put a whole lot of salt because I do raise the beans also for my kids and my daughter-in-law. They don't like a lot of salt. So I only put 1/8 of a teaspoon in, and that helps preserve the color also. All right, Toby, do you want, oh, I got to do the water. All right. Again, this is, the water is hot and sterile. I just reused the water that I put in to sterilize the jars, inside the jars, not in the canner, but inside the jars. About 1/2 inch headspace. All right, then we got to get the air bubbles. Now, if you can zoom in really close, as close as you can, so maybe they can see the air bubbles, you have to get the air bubbles out. Watch for air bubbles. When I pull the jar apart, has that one got any air bubbles coming up through? Or did I? Nope. You got to get the air bubbles out. Kind of watch right in here. See the air bubbles coming up through? Oh, these are pretty good. All right, let's try this one. Oh, there went a big one. So, did it catch it on the camera?
I think so.
Okay. I just go right down through the center. Release any of the air bubbles. Make sure they're all out. Okay, I told my husband, let's try to get a better shot with the air. Check for the bubbles right down here. Oh, there went one. Is it showing on the... Oh, there goes one. Okay, let's try another one here. There we go. There was a good one. All right, I think we got it now. But you want to get all those air bubbles out. Okay. All right, this has holds 9 pints. Get them all in there. There you go. Put the lid on. In a previous video, and I believe was this sterilizing the jars and stuff, once you get your beans in, you get the lid on the canner, you turn up the heat. I do about medium-high. Steam will come out of here. It's very important that this steam comes out. When it starts coming out, then you time it for 10 minutes. After 10 minutes, then you put your, oh, I forget, the what? Regulator, heater. There's another name for it. My mind just went blank. Who cares? Okay. All right, and then you put this on. And then when it starts jiggling, that's when you time it. It's 25 minutes for pints. So when it has a small jiggle, then you time it for 25 minutes. Okay, I think that sums it up for canning the beans. Before you take the lid off, of course you always let the pressure out. I already took this out and got it ready here for the video, but I always remove the lid and slowly move it aside to let some of the pressure, not so much pressure, but the steam, because you don't want the cold air hitting them hot jars, especially after canning them. And that, I usually do that for about 5 minutes, and then I remove the lid for about another 5 more minutes. Then I will lift them out. I've had jars where I've lifted them up after just yanking the lid off of it, lift the jars out, and the whole bottoms fell out of the jars, you know, the beans or whatever was in them. And so I space them about 1 inch in between. Okay. And then once I take them all out, I leave them sit for 24 hours. Okay, that wraps that up for this video. Hit like and share, or if you have any comments. And again, thank you for sharing this time with me.